Happy New Year. Way back in the year 1908, the journalist Arnold Bennett wrote a book called How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. This was early in the self-improvement movement, but when Bennett's advice was offered, hordes of suburban professionals were eager to hear it. Against the backdrop of working, commuting, and chores, there was no time to feel as though you were really living, but merely existing. The cure, according to Bennett, was to be decisive with your time. To start by carving out 90 minutes a day, 3 days a week, to work on improving yourself. This time, as Bennett recommends, ought to be spent reading literature or poetry, but not novels, or learning a new skill, a new language, or studying history or philosophy. Over time, the person who follows this plan will supposedly feel not just more erudite, but more alive. Now today, the self-improvement industry is a multi-billion-dollar machine that churns out books, websites, podcasts, classes, and coaches who can help you to be your best self, to slay every day, and to find your bliss in life, work, family, or any other domain where you really ought to be better than you currently are. Now, I bring all of this up because I'm willing to bet that nearly everyone in this room has spent some time thinking in the last couple of days or hours, or even as you heard me talking about Bennett's brilliant 90-minute program of self-improvement, that you've been thinking about some kind of New Year's resolution. Yes, it's that time of year again, where immediately after being stuffed with cookies and cakes and cocktails for several weeks, we submit to scales of the court of justification, which demands at least an end. What will it be this year? Diets and drinking are usually the first habits to undergo inspection, and whether you pass, you will likely move on to stand before the great judge of time, who will expect of you an answer for the 24 hours that have been allotted to you each day. How are you spending them, after all? Are you getting enough sleep? Or maybe you're getting too much sleep. Should you be getting up earlier so you can fit in that running program you think about every time you pass a full-length mirror? On the other hand, all of the gurus say that early morning, preferably before the sun comes up, is prime time for meditating, a practice nearly every magazine at the H-E-B checkout tells you is the cure for anxiety, depression, and will make you more productive and a better parent. Now, I did my own tally just the other day and was disheartened to learn that I would need nearly 37 and a half hours every day to fit in all that I really should be doing. Sleep, 8 hours. Meditate, 20 minutes twice a day. Pray, I'm a priest, at least an hour. Add that to the 10 to 12 hours I spend getting ready for work, commuting, and working, and I've pledged a minimum of 19 hours and 40 minutes of my day. And I haven't gotten in my 10,000 steps and minimum 30 minutes of aerobic exercise. Now we're pushing 21 hours, and I haven't even reached for Aristotle or Jane Eyre, which will take another 90 minutes to study. Oh, and I recently read that people who spend 15 hours a week socializing with friends live longer. So that's another 2 hours a day, which puts me at 24 and a half hours that are spoken for. To complicate things, you're also supposed to drink 8 8-ounce glasses of water each day and eat at least 7 servings of fruits and vegetables, and I won't even go into the debate about what the percentage of your diet and how many grams of lean protein, whole grains, and unsaturated fats you should be consuming. But how much time is that really going to take? It was at this point that I, and perhaps you can relate, started wondering about doubling up on tasks. I mean, if I practice contemplative prayer, doesn't that count as prayer and meditation? And if I can get my friends to start walking with me, then I can cross off exercise and socializing, and then I've got another hour back in the bank. If I can only get my 13-year-old daughter to let me read philosophy aloud to her in the evenings, I might fit in some family time too. Which makes me wonder, how many minutes a day should I be spending with my family? I'm already spending 8 hours lying next to my husband each night, so I am killing 2 birds with that stone. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've considered sleep, productivity, spiritual health, mental health, physical health, and my family and social life, but what about my Christian obligations to love my neighbor as myself? Well, if I only sleep 7 hours a night, and I run from my house to the nearest food pantry to help them prepare breakfast before I have to get ready for work, I could probably fit that in too, without sacrificing my fitness routine. And by the way, I'll definitely lose weight on this kind of schedule, which will only allow me to eat once a day between studying Italian and volunteering to build low-income houses. But that's another win-win. Heavens to Murgatroyd. How are we supposed to live on 24 hours a day? As you can see, or if you've ever performed a similar set of New Year's acrobatics, living the good life is no easy task. It is with these kinds of sobering realizations that we, as good Christian folk, might turn to the Bible. Not for solace, but hopefully for a better set of instructions. I mean, surely there must be something in there, some formula that you could discover, perhaps if you spent your 90 minutes of study reading Ecclesiastes or Proverbs, or maybe it's in one of Paul's letters somewhere that would just tell you how to live better. I once heard hip-hop artists rap about the Bible, which is what we often think must be true about the Bible. Now, in this scenario, might give you the answer, which will make life meaningful, more understandable, or hopefully easier. Now, I don't know if this will be good news to you or bad, but the truth is this: the Bible is not a self-improvement book. In fact, it's the total opposite. The Bible, aside from a handful of pretty basic instructions about how to get along with one another, 10 to be exact, isn't a how-to. It won't tell you how to be a better parent, unless by comparison to folks like Abraham, Lot, or David, who would all have had DPS called on them. It won't tell you how to make more money unless, again, like David, you're willing to extort people, or like Solomon, his son, you are willing to tax and enslave people who look up to you. It won't make you more fit unless you walk around the desert for 40 years like the Israelites. It won't even make you more moral. After all, even a real jerk could refrain from lying, committing adultery, or murdering people. So if life is impossible, and not even the Bible will tell us how to live it, what hope is there for us? Well, here's the really good news. When the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, in order to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as children. There's a lot going on in this one verse, but the meat of it is this: the whole law. All this business about 90 minutes a day and 15 hours a week, about 10,000 steps and 20 minutes twice a day, and all the ways that we try to justify ourselves with our right living. That's not really what matters, because none of that will bring you any closer to the love of God. And what does allow you to live in God's love has already been done for you through the incarnation of Jesus Christ. In simple terms, God became human to do for humans what we can't do for ourselves. I mean, who are we fooling? If we can't even figure out how to live on 24 hours a day, how on earth could we save ourselves from the power of sin and death? Enter Jesus, the Messiah, who has fulfilled the law that we couldn't satisfy ourselves, so that we can live not as slaves to an insatiable legal code, but as children and full heirs of the entire goodness of God's love and peace. The same peace with which he blessed the Israelites through Moses and Aaron, and the same love he revealed to us through Jesus, who is Emmanuel, God with us. These few verses from Paul's letter to the Galatians are the opposite of self-help, because we don't have to do it ourselves, because we don't have a do-it-yourself God, because God already knows that we can't actually do it ourselves. And that's the really good news. You can't do it yourself, and you don't need to, because the most important thing in life, that is unity with God, has already been done for you. And you didn't have to run 5 miles or join your child's PTA or eat your broccoli in order to get it. Being adopted by God means that you are God's beloved child, no matter how much you weigh, or how much money is in your retirement savings plan, or how many hours you spend a day surfing the internet, or even how well you follow the actual law. So as you ask yourself some version of the question, how should I live, on the occasion of this new year, just know that you can answer it however you want. The fact of the matter is that you will have the same 24 hours in the day that everyone else has until you don't. And no matter how well you spend them, you won't earn any more of them to spend in the afterlife. But because of Jesus, even death won't take real life with and for and in God's love, away from you. So go ahead and try to live well. God certainly wants that for you. But don't be tricked into thinking that your right living is what will save you. You are already saved. What's really good, what's really important, is what God, through Jesus Christ, already did for you. He made you his child, and he's promised his entire kingdom to you out of the abundance of his love. Thanks be to God.